Here with Mark. How are you doing this morning?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah.
It's a pretty buzzing event right now.
Crazy. This is one of the busiest events I've been to. There must be 150, 200 different startups here, 3 or 4 different stages. It's crazy. I'm still trying to get my head around it.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. 15,000 attendees, like we mentioned earlier, it's just a lot of buzz, right?
It's full on.
Yeah.
It's you don't see something at this scale in the startup scene in Australia, and to come over here and see what's going on and see Aussies here, people from all around the world, not just Asia, but the rest of the world, come together and talk to them and hear their insights on what's going on in their part of the world and the startup scene and investments. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's get straight into it. So who are you and what's your story? Like, what are you working on? Why are you here?
Yeah. So look, I'm just here to 4 days off from spend some time in Sydney, learning from as many people as I can, seeing what's going on in the world. My story is started a company 10 years ago, and we sold out of that 18 months ago. Had some time off, and now going again with business number 2, which is a lot harder second time round. Yeah.
Okay, and so give us a bit of bio on like what that company was and like the full journey like we discussed off camera.
Yeah, sure. So I had a business called I Buy New, which we started back in 2007 before there was a startup ecosystem. So it was pretty much 4 to 5 years of trial and error, trying to work out where I was going to take this business. In the first 4 years, we pivoted the business model 4 times to get it right. Once we got it right, we also did 2 rebrands. Eventually it became I Buy New. And then in 2014, we got approached by an ASX-listed company, and they bought us. And that was an interesting journey. We took this property platform from absolutely nothing to a national player in Australia for anyone that was looking to buy an off-the-plan apartment. And we effectively allow people to compare and review the different options, and then decide and make the transaction with us as well. And effectively controlling the whole client engagement process. So that was an awesome opportunity. We exited to an ASX-listed company. At the time that we exited, the market also kind of fell out a little bit. So it was a really tough time, and kind of fell into a bit of a depression for a while. And was watching the business starting to suffer, effectively my baby starting to suffer, which is always hard. Doing things that I didn't necessarily agree we should be doing, but doing them anyway. And effectively walked away from that business about 18 months ago and took some time off, tried to, recover from that depression that I'd been through, which had not only impacted me, but my family and my friends, physically and mentally. But as soon as I acknowledged that I had depression, I kind of bounced back pretty quickly, which was pretty cool to see. And I'd put on 10 kilos in about 8 months, and from the moment that I recognised what I was going through, I could start getting fit again, eating properly, getting the mindset right, and so that all happened kind of post exit. Took some time off, started to think about new ideas in terms of how I can help the startup ecosystem and community, and kind of landed on this business 99 Starts, which is effectively Netflix for the business community. So we license content from conferences around the world, package them up onto a platform and make it available for $10 a month. So there's probably thousands of people in Australia and the rest of the world right now that would love to come to Rise, but they either can't afford it, timing's not right. So what we do is effectively we take all the keynote talks and we put them on a platform, and then we give the people the ability to watch that at their own time.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So you've unlocked your new passion after all that that big high and then all of a sudden a low, and now you're going back up on that high?
Yeah, and I think when I reflect back and I look at where the passion is for this business and where the passion is for the last business, it's about helping people. So in the last business was, I saw this highly fragmented market. I saw, a lot of people not knowing what they were doing in the property space, and we wanted to help them to ensure that they didn't get sold a dud. And effectively, it's the same with the startup and business space. There's people that are learning and want to learn as much as possible, and the best people to learn from are the ones that have done it, and the people on stage that are the experts and have the insights into where the industry might be moving forward. So, my aim is to help 100,000 people over the next 3 years by giving them access to a platform with, thousands of, experts from around the world.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome, man. And so, why did you choose Hong Kong to come here? Like, have you launched yet?
So we haven't launched yet. We're launching in September. We're launching with about 1,000 keynote talks. For me, it's understanding more about what these conferences entail, because it's not just about the content, it's about the networking and the meeting the amazing people, which is something we don't obviously do, being a digital platform. But, coming here, seeing how, conferences like this work. We were at other conferences earlier in the year in America. We've got a couple more coming up in Australia. And if you can understand what the consumer wants on the ground, our job is to try and replicate as much of it as we can onto the digital platform to give those consumers that can't make it to the event the same experience or a similar experience, so that when they can afford to and the timing is right, they can buy a ticket and they can go to the event.
Okay, Cool, man. And so Hong Kong is just another one of those validation events that you're looking to sort of get a lot of knowledge out of, and
yeah, I mean, there's validation. It's also understanding a different market.
Yeah.
So, it's quite easy to go into, the US or the UK, where they're English-speaking countries, and they kind of very similar philosophies to Australia. But when you start looking at the Asian markets, Hong Kong, Singapore, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, it's completely different. So, there's different languages, different cultures, different ways of doing things. So, and a lot of being here today is actually trying to understand whether or not a platform like ours would work in the Asian region.
Yeah.
Would it work on day one, or would it only work 2 or 3 years down the track once we're established with the English language, rather than starting to move into different languages straight away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a great segue, and I thought I repeated my question again before. So what do you love about Hong Kong for yourself?
This is like my third time here.
Okay.
So, I mean, just the vibe. Just walk down the streets, and you see this mixed match of culture and identities, and different smells of food, and then you see the big buildings and the high rises, and it's just awesome. I love exploring new cities, because for me it's about walking the streets. I mean, I love China, love Hong Kong, Singapore. They're all so different. They've all got their own little flavors, and then even within Hong Kong, you've got different areas like Wan Chai and Central and Causeway Bay, and the beaches and the Peak and the island and Kowloon, and they're all so different.
Yeah.
So I love to explore. Unfortunately, I'm not here long enough to explore that much this time round.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely coming back. Hong Kong's awesome.
Cool. And prior to coming to Hong Kong, what was your insight to the ecosystem compared to other places you visited?
Zero, to be honest. So I had no idea about the startup ecosystem. Since I've been here, we've met a whole bunch of different co-working spaces. So Naked Hub, Campfire, Uptown, I'm sure I'm missing a few, Garage Society. So, we're, part of the platform we're building now is a free community platform where these co-working spaces can come on board and contribute their own content to the platform as well, for the greater good of the ecosystem, not only locally but globally as well. So, bringing those guys on board has been amazing. I've learned so much from the startup ecosystem here. Really well developed.
Great. And so it's your third time here. And what would be some advice you'd give to someone in Australia or anywhere who's looking to sort of enter this ecosystem without knowing too much?
That's a tough one. I mean, the last 2 times I've been here were more for being a tourist rather than actually doing work.
Okay.
What would I give? I would say, talk to the locals, learn from the locals. That's probably the best advice, is understand how they do business, because the way they do business here and in China is very different to the way they do business in Australia.
Yeah.
So understand that culture, understand what works, and then go from there.
Yeah. Well, I can agree with that, because we were hanging out with some very cool people yesterday, and the way they do business is so different.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting.
And you got to learn to adapt.
Yeah.
You got to be a chameleon, and just like when you're doing sales and you're talking to different people, they've got different personalities. The idea is now to when you're working in different cultures, you need to understand who you're dealing with, how does it work, and then, play. You can't make them do it your way.
Yeah.
You have to follow their rules effectively.
Yeah. Cool, man. And is there any key takeaways that you hope to get out of this event other than sort of understanding the market?
Just meet people.
Yeah.
Like the more people I meet, I kind of like, normally when I go to a conference, I sit in the talks and I listen to what's going on. I've been quite selective, I guess, this time around with which content I want to listen to, and I want to make the most of my time actually networking with as many people as I can, understanding what they're doing, let them know, get some feedback about what I'm doing, and obviously see if there's opportunities to do partnerships and all the rest of it.
Awesome stuff. Well, you got 15,000 people here, and I better let you go and get networking.
Done. Sounds good.
Awesome, man. And
cheers, man.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back for more, coming to you live at facebook.com/Beach City Live. And thanks to our partners Invest HK and Start Me Up Hong Kong.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Shaka
mate.
out.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.